Kash Patel should resign in disgrace for incompetence and malfeasance in the way that he mishandled the manhunt around Charlie Kirk's murderer. We now understand why you should never have a right-wing podcaster run your FBI assisted by another right-wing podcaster when they're searching for the killer of a right-wing podcaster. Because now new reporting from NBC is that rather than go back to the FBI headquarters with the big boards and the big videos and coordinate and quarterback the entire manhunt, Kash Patel decided he was more interested in finishing his pasta dish or maybe the lemon chicken at Rayo's in New York, an exclusive restaurant in the upper East Side or West Side. How about going back and doing your job, Kash? And now it turns out from the timeline analysis that he would have been posting on social media falsely, prematurely, about the capture the night of the murder of the suspect, when that didn't happen for another day and had nothing to do with the FBI and everything to do with his family turning him in. It wasn't a manhunt that caught Tyler Robinson. It was his family and a minister. While Kash Patel stuffed his fat face with some sort of main course or entree or appetizer at Rayo's. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Saturday on Legal AF. Let's get to the bottom of it. There are things that have to change after the political violence led by apparently an accused 22-year-old firing a bolt-action rifle and murdering Charlie Kirk. Things got to change in our approach to political violence and the root causes of it. I agree with Jasmine Crockett. I agree with certain of the mainstream Republicans, with Democrats who have come out to talk about the root causes of political violence and why it always seems to be a detached, desensitized 20 to 30-year-old white guy that burst into a church, a supermarket from a rooftop, and then shots ring out. But I'll tell you what's not helping and what should also come out of in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder is the firing of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino as the head of the FBI. I said before I heard about the Rayo's restaurant incident that Kash Patel was over his skis and over his head in this role. And just to look how he had hollowed out over the last 9 months the FBI right at the moment when they needed it. See, the FBI serves a major role working with local law enforcement to keep us safe from the next mass shooter or a mass shooter, the next terrorist cell, the next domestic terrorist cell. And that's why we're safe, but not when you fire senior leadership and everybody that was a key person, basically firing the starting varsity lineup for the FBI leadership because they were involved with the Jan 6 investigation and prosecutions, because you wanted to use your hit list of to get rid of people that were opposed to Donald Trump because you don't see them as doing their job at the FBI, going after bad people who crawled all over the Capitol to try to assassinate elected officials. So now that you fired the starting lineup and you fired the JV, what's left? You got the freshman team. And that's what's now left in the FBI. It's only the people with their head down who were not the best and brightest within the FBI, because those are you know who those are? Those are the people that are suing the FBI to get their jobs back or to get reinstated because their First Amendment and Fifth Amendment rights were violated. You can't take 1,500 people, Kash, out of Main FBI, the Hoover Building in Washington, and send them out to a lot of them to Huntsville, Alabama, okay, and scatter them to the four corners of the United States, and expect that the mission of the FBI is not going to be compromised. You can't redirect assets, defund the FBI effectively, not hired to replace the varsity leadership that left, and then wonder why in the 9th month of your tenure, when there's a major manhunt, you're busy bungling it. Maybe that's why he went to Rayo's for dinner. It's okay. I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't be having dinner somewhere. Apparently they all went to New York for the 9/11 memorial and for the Yankee game and whatever else they were doing. I assume he was coming back from the Yankee game, something like that. Because if you come back, I know Rayos, I've been to Rayos. If you come back through a certain route, you can end up at Rayos. You got to make a phone call ahead. By the way, look up the history of Rayos, the restaurant. There have been shootings inside of Rayos. There have been mob hits inside of Rayos. I'm not sure that's the best place for the FBI director to be, but so be it. The guy's got to eat, he's got to eat. But then as soon as he found out that this was in the middle of the manhunt, the shooting had happened already. He's now having dinner at Rayos, and now he's posting. This is where his command center is, at one of those big round tables at Rayos with a bunch of other fat cats. No wonder he got the original notice wrong. He had to fix it an hour later. Not apprehended. Right. And the FBI and the Utah police and state police and all that, none of them should take credit for what happened. They got a grainy still of the picture of Tyler Robinson wearing a certain t-shirt that's reserved for people who are disabled veterans. And that picture and that t-shirt was recognized by a minister close to the family, who's also close to law enforcement. The father got involved and they brought the kid in. That's how it happened. It wasn't a manhunt like when they captured Luigi. This was a family hunt. All they had to do was look in the living room. But it shows you, now that we know the Rayos story, we now know why Kash Patel might have been distracted. How many limoncellos did you have, Kash? Were you not drinking that night? We should pull the receipt. The House Democrats should subpoena the tape from the cash register at Rayos. By the way, bring cash when you go to Rayos. And find out who was drinking. Maybe he was drinking on the job, much like our Secretary of Defense has been accused in the past. It would explain the premature hit on a social media post that he's in place, he's not in place. It was so bad that Donald Trump had to stop by Fox and Friends at like 7:30 in the morning to talk about the apprehension the night before to distract from his own failed FBI director. Any other president of the United States in the aftermath of this and with this new information would fire Kash Patel. Thank you for your service. You'd be seeing a press conference about how Kash wants to spend more time with his family and will be leaving along with Dan Bongino. And they'll get somebody that knows what they're doing about investigation. How about somebody that works for a state bureau of investigation? How about that? How about somebody from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation or the New York Bureau of Investigation, or came from, or maybe comes from the chief of police of New York, the commissioner of New York. Somebody knows what they're doing. I'd even take somebody from the CIA at this point. But Kash Patel, he was a public defender, lawyer, and that was it. That was his credentials in law enforcement. Okay? So, making him the head of the FBI was already a crime at the time it was done 9 months ago. We said it, we called it, that these people were obscenely unqualified. And look what's happened. When you have Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of your national intelligence, maybe that's why we're losing our allies and against our enemies overseas. Because we have a terrible directorate related to intelligence and intelligence gathering, as she's hollowed out all of those departments and fired all the credible analysts. That makes us unsafe. When you have an RFK Jr., who's heading public health as a vax denier, a science denier, a damn medicine denier, running ultimately the CDC and the National Institute of Health, that makes us unwell as a country. That undermines our health. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to die because of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s crazy crackpot theories and his policies and the people he surrounded himself with, and that's all on Donald Trump. Head of the FBI, right-wing podcaster. The deputy director, right-wing podcaster. Head of the Department of Justice, ultimately their boss, the crash test dummy that is Pam Bondi, who barely got by as the attorney general in Florida, was terrible as Donald Trump's impeachment lawyer. You can look it up. But when funny thing happens when you put incompetence into positions to protect America. And now, and I'm not taking special delight in the fact that they couldn't find the killer of a right-wing influencer, a right-wing organizer. I mean, it's an indictment of the Trump administration and of Kash Patel. Here's an idea. The next time you're in the middle of a manhunt for somebody on the right wing especially, or any wing, or no wing, drop the fork and go back to the FBI headquarters and don't fire all of your varsity leadership. Try that at a moment of crisis. And this is how he acted, or the misconduct around how he acted, trying to find the killer of one person. Could you imagine, God forbid, it's a terrorist attack? With this FBI, we just put it through its paces. You just saw what happened. Could you imagine, God forbid, if there was another 9/11 or domestic terrorism or a serial killer or a mass shooting where the person wasn't apprehended? We're up the creek without a paddle with this guy in charge. He needs to go. And the oversight committees of the various congressional committees need to bring Kash Patel on the carpet about the failings of the FBI related to this issue, just as they did about the Secret Service's failings around Butler, Pennsylvania, and Donald Trump. It's the same thing. It's almost exactly the same thing. We're going to continue to talk about it here on Legal AF on Saturday. We are 3,000 people short, and that's nothing, of subscribers to roll to 800,000 before our September 17th 1-year birthday. That's how long some of you have been with us here on Legal AF YouTube channel. Be the 800,000th person. Check to see if you're subscribed. If you're not, hit the button, please. And come over to Legal AF Substack and do the exact same thing, including consider becoming a paid member. That's sort of how this whole thing works. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.